Hello, my name's Michelle Crowther. In this session, we're going to look at sources beyond library search and JSTOR. If you haven't looked at the library subject guides before, I would encourage you to do so. You can find these located on the library blog, which is available from the library pages on the student web pages. I'm going to show you how you can find these now. So from the university homepage, if we click on Students, Current Students, we find near the bottom of the page that there is this link to library services for students. And from the library services page, we have the news about the library, our services and resources. But as we come near the bottom again, we get a link to the library blog. And in the blog, in this red menu bar here, we have a link to guides. And we have two types of guides that will be useful for you, the subject guides and the database guides. So let's go to the subject guides. And this is where you can link through to all the guides that will be useful. So there are obvious ones like American Studies, Archaeology, History, Medieval and Early Modern Studies. But there's also other ones for people doing cross-disciplinary topics. So we also have things like film, radio and television. So if you are looking at media and media representations, this guide might be useful. As we go down to the specialist databases, we can see things like we have Pathé newsreels that are available here. So have a look at those subject guides. So let's just go back to our presentation. And so I call this session More Than Library Search and JSTOR. So JSTOR's good, and it's got peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles, but JSTOR is a back catalogue of journal articles, and there are very few journals on it that are right up to 2020. A lot of them will have publishing embargoes on them, which means that they won't publish the most recent articles from anywhere between 4 to 8 years. So you could be looking at a key history journal, but its articles would finish at 2014, and there would be nothing beyond that. So you have to think at individual study level, what else has been published since then? So we're going to look at some sources that can help you stay current in your topic. And the other thing with JSTOR as well is because it's multidisciplinary, I'd recommend that you use the browse function in it to limit your results to just your discipline. So I'm going to just show you how we can do that quickly. Okay, so I'll just go actually from a blackboard. So the other route to finding the library is through the University Services box on your blackboard. And so if we scroll down to library search, we've got find databases A to Z, and we can go to J for JSTOR. Obviously you can just type JSTOR in your Google as well, you don't have to go through the library route, but if you go through this route you've got your access provided by Canterbury Christchurch University, you don't have to log in later. Okay, so I could search for Napoleon, and I'm getting tons of results there. And if I scroll down, I'm getting all sorts of things coming up. There's a lot, doesn't seem particularly relevant at the beginning, and that's because I've put Napoleon in, but I haven't actually told JSTOR what I'm studying. So it could be looking at the town of Napoleon, it could be looking at Napoleon Bonaparte, Napoleon, I think there's a poet called Napoleon. It could be looking at all sorts of things. So what you need to do is, you can see by the subjects here that it's searching, you know, there's 364 items in botany and plant sciences with Napoleon in, I think because there's a Napoleon cherry as well. So I haven't been specific enough. So I could now choose history here and limit it, or I could have started by browsing by subjects and choosing history here. So that way I'm telling the database just to search within the subset of history journals and not to search literature journals or search agricultural journals. I don't want the Napoleon cherry or whatever variety. So this way I'm keeping it within the field of history, the discipline of history. So that's JSTOR, but we want to move beyond JSTOR now and look at more current stuff, because if we were to actually browse by subject again and just look at those history journals, you'll see of the 355 journals in JSTOR for history that the date range, some of them are okay, some of them are recent. We've got some going up to 2020, but we've got others that are not. So, you know, the American Historical Review up to 2014, you know, you probably want something a bit more recent than that. So let's move on from JSTOR. Let's go back to our presentation and let's see what our options are. So the one I would try is something called Web of Science. Now it sounds a bit of a misnomer with a title like that, but it does include the Arts and Humanities Citation Index. So it is a rich source of current material within the arts and humanities. It allows you to do a topic search, so you could put in a broad topic. I put in British fascism, and then it gives you options to find in the article. So I'm going to demonstrate this now with the same search of Napoleon. So let's go back to Find Database and W Web of Science, and there's another guide here if you need it, with a video as well if you want to watch that. So I'm going to do my search on Napoleon in the topic and search. So I've got 5,417 results. That's quite a lot. But the ones coming up at the top are clearly about Napoleon Bonaparte. How could I improve on this search? I could add in more words, but I could also look at the refinement options on the left. So I'm pretty certain that I'm not looking at science and technology or social sciences. I'm looking within the arts and humanities research. So I'm going to refine my search now. And so I've reduced it a little bit. So I've now got some Napoleon articles. You can see here from the publication years that I'm encapsulating those years that were missing from JSTOR. So there's lots of recent research that's been written about Napoleon. And if I wanted, I could look at other refinements. So here it tells me the databases I'm searching, and I could exclude ones if I wanted. So I'd probably exclude Biosis and Medline because I don't really want those. And so, you know, my results are going down little by little. What else could I limit it by? So let's have a look. So I might limit it by a language if I only spoke English, but as we're doing Napoleon, I think it wouldn't harm to have a bit of French in there. What other things could we look at? So we could look at our source titles and see where this stuff's coming from. Probably wouldn't really want the Times Literary Supplement because it's probably just reviewing a book. So I might want to think about which journals I want. So I might want history, Journal of Modern History. I might want to, war culture. I might want to do that, but you know that's assuming that you know which journals you want. So oh god, I've just excluded them. Sorry, that wasn't what I meant to do. So you've got options to limit. That's what I'm saying there. And then if you want to look at these articles, can you see I've got this lovely download PDF tab here? That's because I have something on my browser that's called Nomad, which is over here at the top, that little green teardrop. So Nomad links my Web of Science searches to my Christchurch collection. So I know straight away I can click on that. If I was to come further down, this one, what if Napoleon had won at Waterloo, and I wanted to find this, I would click on Find It. And it suggests that I go to the publisher's site. So we'll have a look. Okay, so it's a French website. So then obviously you've got to make the decision whether you want to read something in French, and you have to research because it's not come through to the article, it's come through to the main page. So I'm not so fussed about that one, looking at it. So let's see what else we've got in Web of Science. So okay, so imagine I wanted this one about the Battle of Waterloo myth. It's in a journal called Intelligence and National Security, so I'd need to decide whether that was appropriate for my discipline. I've got to download again. Let's have a look what else we've got. Okay. Let's try Find It on this one, French Review. This is after Napoleon, it's not so relevant, but I just want to see what happens. So here, because I haven't got that Nomad green teardrop telling me I can access it through Christchurch, it suggests I go to Google Scholar and look it up there, or I make a request via the document delivery service. So I would just copy and paste my item. Oops, sorry. And I would look it up in Google Scholar, or I would make the document delivery request. And that's great, isn't it? That's because I haven't logged in yet. No, I need to log in. There's usually a reason these things don't work. Okay, and then document delivery request. And then I would ask for an article, and I could fill in the details and request that article if I wanted it. Now, you can have 15 of these in your third year, these requests. They're free, and you, I think you can only do 4 at a time. So I would start lining up those 15 items that you want, start putting your requests in, and as soon as one comes in, request the next one, so you keep so you get them in time for your assignment. So that's Web of Science. So let's go back to the presentation, Web of Science. So yeah, add the Nomad browser extension. I'm going to put a link to that on your Blackboard. So that means that you can search Web of Science and link instantly through to the Christchurch collections. I didn't actually show you how that worked on Web of Science, but I'll do that now. I just click there and it's downloaded the article for me down there. And then sometimes it will just bring it straight up on the screen. So it goes and looks for it in the Christchurch collection, brings it up on the screen straight away. So it is a very handy feature to have that added to your browser. And there are lots of other databases as well. So when you look at your subject guides, take a note of them. We have the Bibliography of British and Irish History, which provides bibliographic data again. So it's not a full text linking service. So you do have to take details, then check against library search to see if we have it. And it covers material from 55 BC to the present. And it's produced by the Royal Historical Society. No, not the Royal Historical Society. It's the Historical Association. I can't remember its name. Forgive me. It's a great source, basically. So just try it. Oxford Dictionary of National Biography. Another great source. Now, when you search the internet, when you search Google, you find the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography comes up quite a lot. But what comes up freely is actually the old version of it. And so you might find articles and you might think, well, the life of Thomas Wolsey hasn't changed. If I read the old version that was written in Victorian times, it doesn't matter. But then you're missing all that sort of new scholarship that might have been woven into the biography by a more recent biographical entry. So do try the more recent, up-to-date, continuously edited and revised version, but this is something you need to do through Find Databases A to Z, because it's not freely available to the public like the old Victorian version is. So do use this version as well, and try that out. The Times Digital Archive of obviously the Times newspaper. So if you're doing late 18th century, 19th century or 20th century, then try this as a source for news items. Then we also have Lexis Library newspapers. So that's since the 1980s. So possibly not so relevant for many people, but if you're doing a very popular topic that is still current, then you might want to use these. And it's national and regional press, and it's UK only. Once again, available through Find Databases A to Z. And there's also a video guide to this one too. Another source you might like to try is the Foreign Broadcast Information Service. Now it's a United States record of political open source intelligence from 1974 to 1996, but it does have some useful information in there. So if you were doing something such as the Romanian collapse of communism in Romania, then you would find, if you go into this source, you can see some material. I'll try and demonstrate it, but it for some strange reason, when I demonstrate this one, the live screen doesn't always appear. So let's go back to library search again and go home, Find Databases A to Z, Foreign Broadcast Information Service, so hopefully it's in Newsbank. We're clicking here and we've got the option to explore by events, so I find that quite useful to do it like that. So it goes through the decades, and if we go through the 1980s, we can see we've got lots about the fall of communism here, the Berlin Wall falls, we've got the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia, and then we've got Nicolae Ceausescu of Romania is overthrown and executed. So we can go in there and we can see media sources about the events. So we've got Hungarian TV, we've got Budapest Domestic Service, we've got Paris French reports on it, but they're all in English because they've been translated for the Americans to use as open source intelligence. So you can view a full page and you can read the document. So that's Foreign Broadcast Information Services. British History Online. So if you're doing British history, obviously, have a look at that one. Archaeology Data Service, if you're looking at an archaeology topic, that's a good source of information. Early English books online for those doing medieval studies. MEMSO as well for medieval and early modern studies. It's not great to search, can be quite clunky, so do look at the guide on how to search MEMSO. And we've got English historical documents, another good source for medievalists. Now, browsing is a way of searching journals, so I'm just going to give you a little demonstration of how you can do that. So let's go. So we go to find databases again. We go to B for browsing. Oh no, don't. Well, we can. No, it's browsing journals by subject is what we need to do for this one. Sorry. So here we could put in history. It's a very broad topic, obviously. And so we've got a range of things appearing on the right in the results. So we've got journals in blue, looking like a little book or journal front cover. So these show you the journals that we have with the word history in them. But if we wanted to look at all the journals we look at the red folders. So we've got history by time period, history general, all journals, interdisciplinary, etc. So let's try history general, all journals. So we could look through this list, or we can go into this middle menu and we can choose something. So we could look at political, diplomatic and military history. And we could look, so we've got, if you're doing First World War studies or Revolutionary Russia, Journal of War and Culture Studies. So this shows you some of the titles that we have at Christchurch. But if you want to know more about using browsing, I would suggest that you read the current awareness slides in your Blackboard. If I was just to give you an example of war in history, it brings us in, so we're looking by issue, which isn't a very useful way of searching when you've got a topic. So I would probably, now I know that this is a title that I'm interested in, war in history, I would go back to find databases and I would find e-journals by title. I would put in war in history and search. So now it tells me where I can find it. So you can see I've got the JSTOR, and it's just as I said, it's got a 4-year delay. So although it says to the present, it isn't to the present, it's only till 2016. Whereas Sage Premier here is offering it to the present. So it's always worth just checking here. You can have the full text from this service instead. You've got the option to search within the publication. Sometimes what it does though is it just searches one of these databases. So if it searches JSTOR, you're still going to get the 4-year delay. You're probably better off going for the Sage Premier link there. So yeah, if there's a journal that really ticks all the boxes for your subject, search, find e-journals by title and check where it exists and how you can find it. So here we are, we've got this is the current issue. Let's see if it's there. And so all these things annoying, aren't they, that pop up. Okay, so here we've got my little green nomad is working on Sage as well. So I can click on download PDF and it goes to find that article. And there it is. So while I'm mentioning my green nomad, I'm going to show you somewhere else it works as well, which, you know, just tell John to shut his eyes now while I do this, because I know that Wikipedia is not the sort of source, any encyclopedia is not the sort of source you should be using. But so let's just look up Napoleon here in Wikipedia. Okay, so yes, I certainly wouldn't be using a Wikipedia article in my assignment, but I've got my green nomad appearing over here, so I'm just going to go down to the bibliography because it's telling me there's something that might be useful there. So let's have a look. So here it's showing me where there's a scholarly article that I could link through to in the bibliography. But what I quite like, because I've already looked at this, is in the historiography and memory, there's this article here, Napoleon Bonaparte as Hero and Saviour. And I can download that article straight away from there. So I know that I'm pulling out a good source from a Wikipedia article, but I didn't mention Wikipedia really. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so let's just look at my presentation because I'm going to run out of time. And so we've looked at browsing, we've looked at selecting journals that might be relevant for us and looking them up in the Find Journals by Title. Ethos, if you've not used it before, it's a British Library's e-thesis online service. First time you use it, you create an account, but everything in it that you download is free. So if it's a really recent doctoral thesis, it's likely to be in a digital format and downloadable. Some of the older material unfortunately isn't, and you have to apply to the individual universities for that. So that's Ethos. And the other one is EBSCO Open Dissertations. So that's available via Library Search, Find Databases, O. And this one includes some American doctoral dissertations as well, so useful for those doing American topics. Don't forget to try other library catalogues and online collections, because lots of national libraries have digitised resources now. So if you're looking at France, look at the Bibliothèque Nationale de Français, look at that one, or look at the Library of Congress if you're looking at American stuff, because you'll find that there's be some good digitised primary sources there. There's also a hub of UK libraries that you can look at, and there's WorldCat. Europeana is a collection of European libraries, so there's some good primary source material there as well. And for book material, there's Internet Archive and Hathi Trust, but they usually come up in Google searches anyway. So the Digital Public Library of America, very simple URL, dp.la. Some good material, particularly if you're doing civil rights. You've got some primary source material here. Also, if you're doing women's rights, I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh, and if you're doing maybe Indians or Native Americans, I should say Native Americans and the Wild West, or however you want to phrase it. So that's that. And so this is an example of the Library of Congress and their digital collections with some civil rights stuff, some Rosa Parks papers, some really good stuff going on here. And if you can't find what you need, then please do ask in the library, place a document delivery request as I showed you earlier, or you can email me or email the library and ask, because at the moment it's very difficult because of COVID. Not all university libraries are interlending between each other. So at the moment we can't interlend with the University of Kent. So it's tricky, but it's always worth asking. And if a library has something digitised or can share it with you, they will, because they genuinely want to help. But it's just a little bit trickier at the moment because of the rules of how long you have to keep a book before someone else touches it and things like that. So yeah, do get in touch and use that document delivery service. And that's me on the left if you want to contact me. My email is michelle.crowther1@canterbury.ac.uk, and that will be on your blackboard. Or you can book an appointment with me through the Learning Skills Hub, and the link to that will also be on your blackboard. Thank you.